So in this example, ladies and gentlemen, what we are going to be looking at is I'm going to show you a different way to do this. All right? And the way that we're going to be looking at this is again still an and I prefer to write these both as ands. All right? But another way to do this, for those of you that kind of get a little bit more advanced and saying, oh, I understand doing the and, I don't really like separating them because I'm doing the same work twice, you can also solve these just as it is. But then the graphing sometimes I think gets a little bit confusing for students. But let me show you how to do that. So here, what we're going to do is isolate the variable in between our two inequalities. OK? So to do that, you say, all right, what is happening to my variable d? Well, it's being multiplied by -4, and it's being added by 10. So just like we'd solve an equation, we're going to undo addition and subtraction first. However, we don't have two sides of an equal sign. We have two inequality statements. So I'm going to want to subtract 10 on both sides of each inequality.
Is this like a different way to solve problems?
Yes, this is. For Tansy.
Oh,
It's
so
not going to work.
one and then two.
Correct. OK, now we get to a point where I look at my variable d, and I say my variable d is being multiplied by -4. So now I need to divide by -4. And just as I spoke about last problem, whenever we multiply or divide by a negative number, we have to make sure we flip the sign. So this becomes positive 2 is greater than or equal to d, which is greater than positive 1. All right? The reason why this sometimes can be difficult is because you're trying to choose values that are greater than 1 but are less than or equal to d. Yes? No, that -4 divided by -4 is positive. But I divided by a -4. That's why I had to flip the sign.
Oh, you did flip that. OK.
Yep. So a couple ways to look at this. I think it might be easier if I rewrote this as 1 is less than d, which is less than or equal to 2. You guys see how to flip this out? Therefore, you can see that d, my answers, are greater than 1 but less than 2. Right? Or you could also just rewrite this separately. d is greater than 1, and d is less than or equal to 2. Now remember, though, you have to be very, very important. It's very, very important that you understand that this is an and. This compound inequality, the way it's written, is an and statement. So when I go and graph, I have 0, 1, 2, 3. If I graph it like this, you can say, oh, my values have to be between 1 and they have to be between 2. But this is greater than or equal to, so it's part of my solution. So in and, I'm graphing the intersection. If I looked at it like this, d has to be greater than 1. D has to be less than or equal to 2. You guys can see that what I graphed was the intersection of the two graphs separately. Does that make sense? OK, but we don't need to graph that extra step on top. So whatever way works for you. If you need to stand while I'm